Welcome back to the Bold Life Movement podcast. I'm so grateful to have Mr. Jesse Gittler here with me today. Hi, Jesse.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about this conversation because I came across Jesse on Instagram when a really dear friend of mine sent me one of your videos, and I was just like, it was the quantum, like messing with the quantum one where you said, go say thank you to your future
Mhm.
self. I want to say this is the video that like went viral, right?
It is. It was the first one, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just had it in my heart. I was like, oh, I want to connect with this person someday. And then a couple weeks went by and I continued watching your stuff. And I was so inspired by your consistency, by your openness, and your like connectedness to something else that I was like, I got to talk to him. So here we are.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to jump into this.
Awesome. So I want to know, how did this all begin? Like, what does the beginning of your spiritual awakening look like, given that that's the invitation you're inviting people along to view and experience with you?
Yeah, yeah. Where did it all begin? It's been so crazy. There are no words. Like, it's really just been, I still can't believe, I don't, it's truly hard to explain the what has happened in this turn of events for me, in the significance of this awakening that I've had. Because I never in a million years would have thought that this was a possible turning point for a life. Like I just didn't think that, as I think about my life pre-awakening and I think about how I thought about my future, yes, there's possibilities, there's things that can happen. There's different scenarios, right? And you have them all in your mind and you have like how you would feel in your mind in those scenarios. And like this threw the entire book out. This threw the entire book out and this wrote the book over again. So, I mean, where it all started, I'm not going to get into, I could talk for a half hour on the story, okay? But I'll give you a little bit of understanding of like, since I was a very young kid, um, I was just asking the deeper questions. I just didn't understand why we weren't talking about what we're doing here as people,
Hmm.
like I just didn't get it. I was just like very curious of like, why is the sun coming up and how does it do it so perfectly every single time? And what is the ocean? Like, what are we doing? No one's talking about this. Like, we're just going to work and we're just getting lunch and like everyone's just okay. Everyone's okay with the fact that like we're just walking in the middle of space. Okay, cool. Right. I got a little older. Yeah, this was how I was thinking. And like it kept me up at night, you know, 7 years old, just like, all right, fine. I guess this is what life is like. And it created this curiosity, this emptiness, this need for meaning, created this like baseline of sadness and depression for me because there was always this something missing. Yeah. So if there's always this something missing, then subconsciously I'm always going to be looking for something to fill it.
Mm.
So my life went on. My dad and my mom, obviously raised by them, they got divorced. My dad was just, work, work, work. My mom was a little out there. She got sick, whatnot, but
Mm.
life didn't really get better. And I just kind of accepted, okay, this is what it is. It's this kind of rotation of experiences mixed with some laughs, mostly kind of fleeting moments. And okay, cool, that's all right. Like there's a good movie coming out next week, and like we'll enjoy that. And like yes, I'm looking forward to dessert later. And like this is just kind of what happened. And I got a little older, and then this emptiness started to manifest into addiction, and I got into trouble. Right, I had a gambling addiction for 20 years that I have over 3 years clean now. Um, Yes, praise to the Most High, and into drugs and sex and all these things, just chasing it all, right? And
Mm.
nothing fulfilled me. Nothing fulfilled me. So, the trauma in my life continued. My mom, just fast forward this part. My mom had seizures and got sick and became the child of the family. So, me and my sisters and my dad had to take care of her. My dad and my family we were so close. We were the closest family ever. Me and my sisters and my dad. we put our arms together and we took care of my mom, and she was just this catalyst of nonstop stress. And then my
Mm,
dad passed away
mm,
suddenly, just out of nowhere. And that was for me, that was like, this is the end. Like, this is the end, man. Like the like what I was dealing with life, and then this to happen. My best friend, this giant of a man, this savior, this person who took care of everything and made me feel safe, the only thing I had, out of nowhere gone. And like I just was hitting my head on the ceiling of joy, and now I was just like so my addictions got crazy after this because I was just kind of like this it was just it had more room to grow. I didn't have to hide it as much. And one thing led to another. I was engaged. Um, that didn't work out. I was in California at a job. Um, we broke up. I decided, and it's just amazing. I want everyone to understand that, like, the path to my awakening and why I started when I was young, because that's when it did start. When I look back and trace my steps, everything was perfectly organized by the divine, by the universe, to put me in position to go through what I went through. There are no words when I trace it back. There are no words. There are no words to describe the absolute perfection and beauty of my whole life. And I'm talking beauty. My mom got sick, fell. I've taken care of her as a caretaker. My dad passed away. I've struggled with the deepest, darkest depths of addiction, and yet I talk about beauty, you know, because it truly is. And when you understand how this universe works, and when you understand that we've chose these things and these lessons are an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves and ultimately grow and ascend, it becomes beautiful. It doesn't mean you have to like it. But anyway, so my father passed away. I was in this relationship that didn't work out. Um, I decided, my intuition told me that I need to get my body in shape. So I spent like this year and a half by myself in California after me and my fiance broke up. And I just got in shape. This wasn't like I didn't know what a spiritual awakening was. I had no idea. I didn't believe in God or any of this, man. I didn't believe in any of this.
mm.
But I decided I need to get this vessel in shape. This was the universe putting me in position, because you can't operate with the amount of light that you need to hold. Your vessel, this body, needs to be prepared for
Totally.
awakening, for spiritual
Yeah.
awakening, or the universe won't knock. This is how it works. So like
Or it'll
I
wipe you out.
needed to, it'll just like, it just, yeah, it'll wipe you out. And like, so I got my body in shape, um, which changed my life around, but still, like I mentioned, just depression and sadness. And then I decided one day my chapter in California was over. I packed my car. I had two friends that I grew up with that lived out here in Austin. I just packed my car and moved out here. My job was remote, and I just needed a new change. I was really just like I was alone in California after that whole year and a half without my relationship, and it was just like it was so much. It was inner work without knowing, like I
Mm,
wasn't consciously doing the inner work, but it was happening. And I got to Austin. Life went on, kind of in this fleeting cycle that we've been talking about. And for me, it was okay. I ran sales teams, so big teams, 40, 50-person teams.
wow.
Um, yeah, like so my job was intense. I was really, really good at it, and I enjoyed it because I was a leader of people, and that's what I love to do. That's my purpose. So I got that fulfillment out of it. But there was always something there that wasn't landing, and there was always a struggle to get to work, and it was always a push to have to do things that always felt so weird. It felt so weird that I would have to push myself so hard to do something. And it always occurred to me, is this what life is about? This is the same feeling that I've had as a kid. There has to be more. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? Like, there has to be something more than this. There has to be something more than me having to push with every cell in my body to go to work and then have no, and then get off work. And then, like, now I'm like, okay, still feeling empty. What can I chase? So then it's like I go out drinking with my friends and we do drugs and stupid shit, and then come back down. I'm hungover and blah 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 for 2 days. I'm feeling depressed about that. Now I go back into like, okay, well, now I'm gonna just do my self-development and read. I've always been into this stuff. Reading, self-development, get my shit together. I'm on this circle, right? Come back, work, get promoted, Still not feeling anything. Okay, what do I do? Go again, go again, go again. So anyway, one day I woke up to a calendar an invite on my calendar, and they were laying me off. I was at this job for 5 years, and it happened pretty cold. It was like, damn, like, okay, like I was the guy that they called to keep people at the company. I was the guy that they called to get people to join the company. I was the company guy, and in an instant, I was gone. And like, it just once again, it fell to the surface of there's got to be more. Like, where's the meaning? And I know what business is like. I had to be on the other side of these layoffs. This was a major business layoff thing.
Mm.
Like, I get it. And it didn't really affect me like I was like, oh, spiritual awakening, like I'm in this traumatic thing. Like, I took that and said, okay, this too is something I have to work through. And from there, I got into consulting. I started like just doing consulting for sales teams. It was going pretty well. Once again, not filling. Anyway, I know I'm long-winded as usual, but we uh we I decided to go home to New York. I got a one-way ticket there because I could do my consulting business for home wherever, and went through the same cycle with my friends, went out doing the same stupid shit, coming back. Then I had a consulting session, and I just felt like I wasn't good, and I felt really bad about it. And I
Mm,
remember in this moment, I was just like I was so I hated myself so much.
mm,
Like in this moment, I just hated myself so much. And it was like this inner turmoil of it felt like now when I look back on it and I try to articulate it, it was like my soul trying to like leave my body. Like something needed to happen, yet I didn't know what that something was. Because for me, there was no options. It was the same thing. I didn't know what else to do. It was just like it was this fight within me. And I got so down and so depressed. And I was like, something told me I had to get back to Austin, Texas. I just got to New York and I had a one-way ticket. My family's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. Got back here. I go and play basketball. And basketball was a place for me to get away from it all and kind of was my sanctuary for my
mm.
whole life. Anyway, on the last play, I hurt my ankle. And I'm going through this mental depression. I hurt my ankle and I get back to my apartment. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I hurt my ankle. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to the gym and I'm mentally depressed. So now I'm like, yo, it was judgment day at this moment because now it all came collapsing down of like the meaningless was multiplied and
Mhm,
the darkness was overwhelming. And in that moment, that it happened, I remembered a reel that I had just watched. And this is how beautiful the universe works. And this is why, if you watch my stuff, I talk about this all the time. How if something reaches you, it reaches you for a reason. It's
mhm,
not some bullshit thing. Oh, 100,000 people saw this. It's not just for me. It is for you. It is for you. And if you're listening to this podcast, let me explain something. It is for you too. Like if you're listening to this podcast, it is for you too right now. So I remember this reel. It was a guy named Derek Grant, who's a good friend of mine now. He's a spiritual teacher and um, he's just an amazing person. And it was something in this reel that said, like, every single thing that happens to you is an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself.
mm,
And I don't know, have I heard this before? Probably. But for some reason, standing right there by the fridge as I was getting water, having this mental and emotional and physical breakdown, this came into my awareness. And it was here and it was there. And it was now that my consciousness shifted just a moment, because that's what consciousness does.
mm,
It expands and gives you a new perspective, a new awareness. That's what the ascension process is. So now, what is a new perspective? It's looking at something differently. So now I remember this reel, it's in my awareness. And now I'm looking at it differently. This is also why planting seeds is so important,
mm.
because you plant seeds for people. I go out with friends and I know I'm not changing their life right now. I know
They're
that.
not
But
ready.
if I say they're not ready, but if I say something in 2 years, they could remember it. This is how it
Totally.
works. This is how it works. So I said, okay, everything that happens to me is an opportunity for me to learn more about myself. So I go, all right, so what am I supposed to learn about myself if I just hurt my ankle? Then I'm like, I can't go to the gym. Okay, okay. Why do I want to go to the gym so bad? Well, because I want to be healthy. Is that true? Is it truly why you want to do it, or do you want to look good? Like, like which one is it? Okay, well, why do you want to, even if it's healthy, why do you want to be healthy so bad? Why you don't think you're healthy now? And I went down this rabbit hole of asking myself these questions,
Mm.
and I felt, okay, I got to this place of, well, maybe this is an opportunity for me to learn more about my mind.
Mm.
And then from that moment, I got this call to meditate. And I'm not the meditation guy. Let me explain to you, okay? I never meditated ever. And I listen, if you're listening to this podcast, please let me explain to you. I never meditated ever because I was the guy with all the thoughts. I was the guy that can't sit still. I was the guy running around all the time. Meditate, like, yeah, like I know it would help, but I'm not doing that. It's not for me. Anyway, I mention that because I've meditated now since every single day since this moment. And I'm meditating for hours a day now. And now it's something that I cannot go without, and it is secret to peaceful experience. Like,
Can I ask you a question about that? I
absolutely.
wanted to know how it is that you stay inspired to keep creating content day in and day out. And I'm curious if it's because of your meditation process, if that's when the ideas come to you.
Well, it's a good question. And there's two parts to it. I'm inspired because I'm on my soul path.
Mm.
I'm inspired because I found my purpose. I'm inspired because I know what I'm here to do, you know?
Mm.
And it's funny you ask that because it fits into this part of the journey for me as I start to get to the point of how my awakening unfolded. Um, is that all of a sudden, what I felt to meditate was inspiration.
Mhm.
And I never had this inspiration. This is what I was lacking. I always got myself to do things because I'm a man and I know how to take care of shit.
Yeah,
You know what I
make it
mean? And
happen.
like, yeah. So I'm like, fine, like I'm always gonna get it done. I'm always gonna get it done, but it's not fun for me. And I guess this is just life. I watch my dad do it. I watch everyone in my life do it. Just go through life not having fun and
Yeah.
just doing things you don't want to do. So I thought that's what was up. Anyway, I had this inspiration. I started to meditate 3 minutes a day. That's it. And I did that for a week, and then I went up to 4 minutes and blah blah blah. Then I felt this flame behind my heart, this inspiration. That's what it was. This presence, this power, this stillness, this love, this peace of like different than this rapid paced mind of doubt. This was a calm, hand holding, safe place to be. And it led me to the meditation, and then it led me to other content and led me to books. I'm reading books that I already read, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, what is happening? You know? Then the universe starts talking to me. And now I'm bugging out. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? I'm like, no. I'm like, no. I'm like, no, no, no. This can't be real. I'm like, this can't be real. Like, what the has this been around this whole time? I'm reading books of the laws of the universe and I'm like, oh, I'm in full shock and amazement. One, because how is this happening? And I never knew about it. Like, this is all of the questions I've ever had
I know, it's like
are
you've been
answered.
asking for so long too.
There's answers. There's answers. And I'm like, and every day I'm going to sleep and I'm just like, please don't let this inspiration, this flame behind my heart, this thing, this presence. I'm just like, please be there when I wake up. Please be there. I don't know what's happening at this point. I have no clue what's happening. I'm Googling spiritual awakening.
Mm.
Um, and it continued from there, it continued from there. And I made my way to the dark night of the soul. And, we could talk about that if the conversation goes there and all of that. But as far as my content and being inspired, you know, it excites me. It excites me. It's like I like doing it. I like sharing. I can't and you asked about meditation. I will start to meditate and I'll get a download and I'll have to get on video.
Yeah,
And like it ruins my like I gotta like figure this out
truth.
because it ruins my it stops my meditation, it like it it's a weird place to be because I love and need the meditation, but also I love to share and I don't want to lose this idea, but I'm learning to deal with that. And like I know the universe is happy with me for doing that because we're here to follow our heart. We're here to
Yeah.
follow. We're here to follow what excites us. And since my Instagram blew up, which it did in a magical way, in a perfect example of what co-creation is, and we could talk about that if it gets there. But since it blew up, I've left a reel every single day since my birthday on November 16th. Every single day I've left one. I just started YouTube. And yeah, it gets hard at times, like I get a little bit burnt out and it's a lot
Mhm.
of energy that comes out of me, a lot of energy and then dealing with being on the phone a lot. And
Yeah.
all of it is just like it's all of it's my path. It's my path to walk. It's my path to learn from. It's my experience, and that's what I'll do.
One of the things that I love about this conversation is the theme of like that internal something's not right. Like it's just crunchy, sticky, frustrating, not fulfilling, stifling when you're not on your path. And when you're on your path, when you find the the purpose that you came here to do, it's just easy. It's almost too inspiring. Like so many ideas are coming that you can't even sit down to fully meditate. And it's a lightness that's really hard to describe if you've never touched it. And yet I feel like everyone has the opportunity to touch it.
Mhm.
That being said, I do want to go back to the Dark Night of the Soul piece because I think that when you make the conscious choice to start sharing on some platform and start being visible, there inevitably is going to be the ups and downs of life. And one of the things that I've personally struggled with is staying visible when I'm like fucking in it and I
Mm.
can barely
Yeah.
exist. So I
Mm.
would love to hear how you've navigated that.
Yeah. Hmm. And this is why I just made a reel shouting out all the light workers, all the people who are doing this, man. I have no words for the respect of how hard and insane and scary and how deep this path can go, and having to help others when we're not okay half the time,
Hmm.
But the secret, Kimberly, the secret of it all is to be okay with not being okay. That is that is the game, man.
My
And like
Enneagram 7 is really cringing at that, but I know that you're right.
yes, yes, I am right. I'm telling you, man. And this is the scam that we get locked in, is that we're always trying to feel good and that we think we can't do something unless we feel good. You
Mm,
think I feel good right now? I don't
mm,
feel good right now.
mm.
Let me explain something to you. I don't. I'm going through the throes of this thing, man. I'm not sleeping. I don't know how to eat anymore. I am in the midst of a huge spiritual awakening. It
Totally.
is amazing, crazy, but I'm showing up because I am who I am, and that is enough. Like in this moment, this version, this me is enough. And this is my path of learning how to accept that and deal with that and go with that. So like to your original question,
Ooh,
how did I go through and deal with the dark night of soul? Well, there's certain depths that are deep, and that I'm born to share. I've overshared my whole life in ways, in relationships, at work. It's
ditto.
uh, yeah, and like I kind of accepted that just as me being in my heart, and forever it was something that don't do, and now it's this beautiful realization of do, bro, do. This is the answer. This is the game. This is how the universe talks. It's built on love, and this is what I've known. But this was my first dark night of the soul was before I had any type of presence here. Like I was when this first happened to me, and I'm learning the laws of the universe. I'm literally calling all my friends and I'm like, yo, bro, I got the cheat codes to the world, bro. Like, are you gonna call me, bro? Because we gotta talk. I gotta tell you how it's all working out.
Dude, Zoom, get out of here with that.
What happened? What is that?
No, it's like manufacturing a thumbs up sign because you're doing this.
Oh shit, did it really? Oh man, that's weird. Um, so I'm like, I'm kind of floating for a while because now I have this new reality and I've got the answers that I've always wanted, and I learned that we are infinite beings of light and that we come from unconditional, unimaginable sense of source of love, and that's where we're going and that's what we are. So to me, when this first happened, I said, hmm, this depression stuff's fake. This sadness
Mhm.
stuff's a scam. Being anxious isn't real. So like we're love and light. This is the path, right? It's love and light only, bro. Like, oh, you shouldn't be anxious because who's really anxious? Is it you or is it your soul? Because your soul can't be anxious, which is true, and we can have that conversation. But at the same time, this is what took me to so much of how deep and dark my night was because I have the rules. I'm feeling great. And of course, I'm still going back and forth in and out of faith. I'm learning about God and realizing that it's true for the first time. So
Mm.
I'm like freaked out. Like, I can't believe this is true. And I'm so happy that it is because every single thing has meaning now. Everything has meaning. Everything has meaning. Every single thing that has ever happened in my life means something. Every single experience, there's a reason for it. There's a purpose for why we're here. It's not just some bullshit evolution of a species to work and it's just there's so much more. So I'm like on cloud nine, going to sleep, laughing myself to sleep. Imagine this. I'm laughing myself to sleep. Like, yo, I'm learning, I'm learning about the quantum field. I'm like, I'm already him. I created a character, and I'm like, I'm him right now. I created, I'm like, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. This world's over. I got the keys. I am set. And
And
then,
then
and then, and
I've read this
then,
story.
yo, and then, yeah, and then for real, and then for real, and then for real, I went home. My mom fell. Everything was going great. This is just amazing how the universe works because there's always an exhale and an inhale.
Totally.
There's
Expand,
this
contract,
cosmic,
expand,
yes,
contract.
exactly. There's this balance,
Oh
man,
yeah.
and like this law of polarity and this law of rhythm, and everything was going great. I was manifesting crazy shit, and I was seeing magic in real time. And my mom falls. I told you she's been sick forever.
Yeah.
She broke her elbow, and I had to go home and get her to surgery and stay with her, and blah blah blah. But I'm like, okay, my sisters think I'm a freak, like from all this, but let me go show them what I'm about. Let me go show them this new version because I
Let
haven't
me go
seen
be
anything since
love.
this all happened. Let me go be loved. This is where I'm needed. I've been training for this. This is. I've been training. My mom
You,
fell. Cool. I've been in training. Perfect. I'm
you know that
here.
Ram Dass quote?
No, what is it?
You think you're
Oh
enlightened, go
yeah,
spend a weekend with your
yeah,
family.
yeah, exactly. Right. So I get home, and I kid you not, I'm at the table with everybody, and like I just got there. We had, I think it was some sort of, I don't know where we were, but with my cousins and there's a lot of us. We were all hanging out, and I'm telling you, it was an instant, and I lost my powers. I lost all my powers, and I went back into like this 7-year-old boy that was scared, that wouldn't talk about his feelings, that was I couldn't talk.
Hmm.
I couldn't talk. I had just died. This is what just happened. I just died. And now I'm still here in this body and I have not a single clue of who I am.
Hmm.
I don't wish this on my worst enemies. This was the darkest, deepest, scariest. I, this is why I have so much respect for people because to face into this type of truth about yourself in all your secrets and all your shadows and all your trauma and everything. You don't get away with anything here.
Hmm.
You don't get away with anything here. Anything, man. You don't get away with anything. So like all this stuff that you maybe didn't know about yourself or you pushed back down, all this stuff came up and I'm like just completely lost for who I am. And this went on for months. This went on for months until eventually magic happened, really magic. But
Fans.
yeah, there are no words to describe like just my journey and how it'll happen. But during that time, it is important to note that I knew from the second I had my awakening what my path was. I
Hmm.
knew from my sole purpose. I didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to, I was embarrassed. And like, I didn't, what am I? I'm supposed to be some like spiritual teacher, like worker, helper that like leads people. Like, okay. Like, but I knew that it occurred to me right away because I've been doing this in other departments my whole
Leading people.
life. Yes. So now all of a sudden I found what I love and mix it with my love for leading because I am in love with the universe. I am
Yeah.
in love with learning about this game. I am in love with like the dynamic of God and this insane paradox of experience that we're in. I'm in love with it. So I knew, oh my God, okay, it's a wrap. This is my path. But how? How is this going to happen? And
Mhm.
I walked away from everything. I'm in my dark night of the soul, and I'm walking away from everything. I have no friends. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. It was like,
Mm.
I just like, I love myself. I love myself because of what I did and like how I acted. I'm in this darkest period, and there's nothing showing me the light. God has eluded me now. I had this connection to the universe, this love that I felt in this dance that went away. And I said, not you too, bro. Like,
Mm.
not you too, man. And I was left naked, yet just with this little flame still. This little thing that just said, like, just keep going this
Just
way,
keep
bro.
going.
Just keep going this way. I was like, that meme of like 100,000 people going that way and that one person going that way. I was that little guy, but I was very small and naked. Okay. That's what I
I've
was.
been that little guy in like every
Yeah.
job I've ever had. I get it.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, to close on this part, through this dark night, I said, did I share about this? So, like, I had
Mm.
these realizations, like, I had 180 followers on Instagram. Okay. I had 180, I have 50,000 now. You can't make this stuff up. I had 180. They're all high school friends. They're all laughing at me. They're all like, yo, this kid's insane. And I'm like sharing about like God is real and like dark nights of the soul. And I just did it because it felt right. It felt
Mhm.
right. It was hard and I had no idea what was happening and it felt right. And now when I have these bouts of exhale or inhale, whatever, this kind of contraction,
Contractions.
yeah, I share about it. I share about what I'm going through, and that's what makes it exciting for me. Like I recorded some prior stuff, and I couldn't leave it. I literally couldn't leave it. It felt so out of alignment because it wasn't what I was energetically feeling right now that I had to
Yeah.
just go record something that I did. But it's a balance, man. Sometimes I just need to kind of remove it all and get my peace back. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you bring yourself to show up to this conversation today, given that you're in it right now?
Yeah. Um, well, the common theme lately and the big lesson for me, and I this morning, I made a reel about it last night, and this morning I wake up, I about to leave the reel, or I leave the reel, and I feel so passionately about it that before even my meditation, which I don't mess around, I don't do anything before my meditation. I usually only record after my meditation.
Hmm.
But before my meditation, before I brushed my hair, I didn't care what I look like. Like I just put my camera on and we just started talking about it. And what I started talking about was what I think, what I believe is the most important message ever. And it is the reason why I'm here today. It is, I am who I am, and that is enough. And it seems maybe very basic. I'm sure it's been said and done, right? It's not an original thought. I read this somewhere. It's an affirmation, but it clicked into my awareness because as I'm going through this kind of darker time, and as I'm analyzing, okay, well, I got some exciting stuff coming up. Like I'm going to be on a really big podcast um, in a couple months, like a really
Yeah.
big one. And yeah, and the crazy shit's happening for me. And like I said, my brand is exploding, and I'm having these thoughts like, hmm, who am I going to like? Am I going to be able to serve? Like, am I going to be the person that these people are signing up for? And I go into all this angst and all this fear of this future potential possibilities of am I not going to be enough? This is what it stems down from.
Hmm.
I not going to be enough in some future moment? And this is where all anxiety comes from. You have a presentation at work, you're going on a date, all of it stems from just the idea that we are scared that we're not going to be enough.
Hmm.
So in this moment with my reel and where my awareness is at, it was like, hold on a second. That's not how this whole thing started for me. That's not how this whole thing started for me. That's not what I'm about. That's an old story, man. That's an old story. Like, I am who I am, and that is enough, right? And who is it enough for? It's enough for me. That's the only thing that matters. Because
Mhm.
as long as we're searching outside ourselves for it, we're always going to come up empty. So I've been just walking with this, and it's not all easy. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not all easy. I'm practicing it, and this is what I was pleading with people on my YouTube today. Practice this. Practice this. Practice this stuff. I am who I am, and that is enough. So how do you practice that? Okay. What are you worried about? What are you thinking about? What do you not want to do right now? Right? It's all because you're fearful that you're not going to be enough. For me, it was, I don't want to go downstairs. I'm in a big apartment building. Like, I don't want to go downstairs and see people. I
Mm.
don't want to talk to people right now. And I said, okay, interesting. Why don't you want to talk to people? Because you're not feeling good and you're worried about how they'll perceive you because you're some big Instagram guy now.
Mm.
So this is where my fear came from. So I said, you know what? Nah, I'm him right now. Same story. I'm still him. Okay. I am who I am. And that is enough. With my anxiety, with this, with my shadow, with my darkness, this is how I'll show up. Yeah, I'll be polite. It's not like you're walking around like an asshole and being an ego. Like, it's not what I'm talking about. Like, it's
Yeah.
just,
But you can
it's
want to
just,
protect your energy if you're
yes, that's perfectly fair. Right. And that's what it's all about. It's like, this is
yeah.
just what I have to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And it is enough. And if you can grasp this, for the listeners, if you can grasp this and you can walk around with this idea, and this is why I say practice, because you'll feel it and then it'll fall off. You'll feel it and then it'll fall. It takes time, and this is stemming from our subconscious, which are deep-rooted beliefs about who we are. If you can walk around with the idea that I am who I am, and that is enough, you will see the peace of God. You will feel it. You will get a taste of freedom, because that's what freedom is. Truly, when you're walking around, you do not care about what anybody thinks.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm
I
here.
can
Because
share a
yeah.
perfect I was gonna say I can share a perfect example from like 2 days ago. I was
Hmm.
walking into a launch event for a local like craft store, and I had found out right out front, right as we were walking in, that someone I had been seeing very recently was now seeing someone else, like literally as we're walking in the door. And it was kind of a charged conversation because he was upset about something. And I get in there and I'm like, I don't want people to see me in this state. I'm totally dysregulated. Like, that's
Right.
just not my essence. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. That's where I'm at right now. And
Right.
so when this really sweet girl that I had chatted with at another event came up to me, I was like, I'm going to be very honest with you. My nervous system's really dysregulated in this moment because I just got some tough news and I'm really terrible at chatting right now. And she was like, no worries. And she just like squeezed my arm and she walked away. And the next day we touched base on Instagram and we're like, it's good to see you, da da da. And I was like, perfect. I was authentic. I didn't have to pretend to be anything. I also didn't have to be rude, and it could just be what it is.
It just be what it is. That's so beautiful and awesome. You literally take your power back. And not only that, and this is the beauty of the actual game we're playing, because when you start operating like this, when you start acting like this, what did you do in that scenario? You basically said, I am going to take this opportunity to learn more about myself. That's what spiritual path is. It's about
Mm-hmm.
learning about who you are. And that's what ascension is. And that's what we do. That's what consciousness responds to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you said, I'm going to take this opportunity instead of going back into my fear, instead of walking away from it, instead of putting it back down and then going about my life and carrying that energy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to transmute this. And when the universe sees you do that, the universe says, my child, I got you. And you get blessed. Literally. I've been blessed, like, literally in real time.
Mm-hmm.
In real time, where I'm like, similar thing where I see this kind of lesson that, like, oh, I've seen this coming. I've seen this before. Like, this is an interesting thing that's kind of came into my path right now. And here's how I would used to act. Here's how my programming is triggering me to act. All of this right now, I feel it, I see it. Even the version of me has done it, right?
Yeah.
But I am choosing. I am choosing to step into the new version. And when you do that, the universe says, oh, okay, this new version needs some new things. This new version needs some new expanded awareness, elevated, upgraded consciousness. And I've felt it. I've gotten upgrades walking in the middle of the street, figuring out what the lesson is, and then being like,
Totally.
it makes the game so much funner.
I mean, even that night, I feel like you'll appreciate this tool. I'm sharing it on the episode either right before or right after this one. But have you heard of the Imago method?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, Desi, paradigm shifting conversation tool. So I learned about it that day because I knew I was going to see this guy at the event, and we were going to have some one-on-one time to sort of like figure out our friendship moving forward. And one of my dear sweet soul brothers, shout out Dan, thank you for sending the Imago method my way, sent it, and I spent like hours learning about it on YouTube that day. So essentially the process is all about talking without criticism, listening without judgment, giving each other full presence, no negativity, and really coming from a place of curiosity so that
Mm,
you can literally understand the other person's side. And
mm,
I invited this man into that kind of conversation that night, and we sat for like 2 hours and were able to just understand, why was I
mm.
hurt that I found out on social media? Why had we not seen each other? Like, just literally, what was the other person's movie that they'd been playing? What was the other
Facts.
person's reality? And the
Mm,
structure of the method is so powerful because in every moment that either one of us would have been activated, and we are holding hands, which is good. If you can do oxytocin exchange, do it. And I could feel when our heart rates would increase, right? The structure of the method creates no time for you to respond from an activated place because you're just following this process of like, is that more? Let me repeat it back to you. That makes sense given where you're coming from. And it's, I'm telling you, it like changed my whole life. I'll use it in every relationship moving forward.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. And what that is, what it sounds like to me, is a container for God to work.
100%.
That's what it is. It's the universe saying, okay, like here, this is how we should be communicating, you know? So it's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really, really amazing. So I'm curious, what do you do from here?
What do I
What is
do from
next for
here?
Jesse?
I have no
I love the
clue.
look on your face.
I literally like when I tell people that like, and people ask me this, and I'm just like, and I had this conversation with Spirit today, because as my stuff starts to blow up still, and like, I'm starting to like have this presence, and like I have this need. My masculine energy has this annoying presence of needing to go and do something.
Do,
When,
yeah.
yeah, when everything that's happened has been because I decided to not do anything. I have not done anything. And like when I say that to my sister, she goes, wait, but you have done. And I'm like, what I mean by not doing anything is I have not done anything that I don't want to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I feel like I need to go and make a move and figure something out, I haven't done that. I haven't been in that space. I've just been like following my excitement. I'm literally following my passion. What has that been? Oh, I got the call to make a YouTube channel. So I did that, right? Like, and I do it when I'm excited. I do it when I feel it. I do it when I have something to share. Instagram, that's been happening. There's thoughts about like what I'm going to do to monetize these things. Yes, that's all
Mm-hmm.
coming up. And
Mm-hmm.
this feeling of having to figure it out doesn't make me feel good, right? It's like this anxiety that's caused, and I'm learning to figure out what that balance of feminine and masculine energy looks like, and I'm still working through my programming of having to figure every single thing out instead of trusting the great divine intelligence, and it's gotten me this far. So it's been a magic ride.
I have a question from one of the listeners that I
Oh, cool.
requested on Instagram if people wanted to ask, and one that you haven't touched on yet, but I think she would find really powerful is people dealing with depression. What advice would you give them to connect more with spirit
Hmm.
when they're in that place?
People dealing with depression, or would I give them to deal more with spirit?
Yeah.
I would
To
say,
connect with the path of spirituality. That was her direct words.
okay, connect with the path of spirituality. Well, I would say that the fact that she's asking this question, if they're listening, to this, then they're closer to get out of that depression than they realize,
Mm,
you know? And I would ask them to really sit with their depression, even
mm,
if it has to be in a room with nothing, with no distractions. Sit with it, sit with it, sit with it, sit with it. Don't give it a label. Like, what is depression? It's sadness, it's anxiety, it's hopelessness, right? I would ask them to sit with these feelings and grow intimate with them to a place where you have to really still yourself to not judge them, to not put a label on it as good or bad or annoying or not, and stop resisting it so much. So you bring it closer and try to understand what it's really trying to tell you,
mm,
and ask the question of, what is the universe trying to teach me? What is the universe trying to teach me through this right now? Because your feelings are messengers. Your feelings are here to show you that you are analyzing yourself differently than God does. So anytime you're feeling down,
mm,
it's like a ping to say, "Oh, I'm analyzing myself incorrectly. I am pure infinite love, and anything that makes me feel other than that is not real." So it's one thing to say that. We can't really just skip into that. Well, I won't say that as an absolute, because I feel like at some point you can, but the healing process begins with truly learning and understanding and asking the questions and sitting with this kind of feeling, and where is it in your body, and learning more about what it is, and then breaking it down from there, because you can uncover the illusion behind all of the fear. That's why
mm.
fear itself is an illusion, because none of it is real. So when you really break it down, it most likely stems from the fact that you don't feel like you are good enough. And if you understood what you are and who you are, then you would realize that you are perfect and everything else would disintegrate.
It's interesting. I feel like the further that I get down my own spiritual journey, my own spiritual path, the lows actually feel even lower somehow because I feel like I've seen beyond the veil and I know what an illusion it is, and yet the pain
Mm,
feels that much more existential. The despair feels that much deeper
mm,
because I'm just like, "No, I know that there's the alternative. I know that there is the opposite of the 3D." And so I'm like,
yeah.
"Get me the F out of here." I'm wondering
Yeah.
if you ever have those moments and how you move through them.
Yeah. Great question. Um, I, w- I was called to talk about this today, but I didn't. I'll talk about it here. Wisdom
Mm,
and experience are so important, and you can gain wisdom and experience. Well, you can gain wisdom from other people. That's why learning and listening to podcasts like this is so important, because yes, you've seen the other side, which makes the darkness a bit darker, but also you've seen what comes after the darkness, have you not?
totally.
So you have to consider both things. So like for me, yes, I get into those moments, man. Today I had that where I and it really comes from, I don't want to be here on earth. Like I don't want to deal with these earthly things, you know? Yeah, I
Totally.
know, because we feel,
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah, and it's like
"Eject, let's go."
yeah, it's annoying, and then
It's
you come back, and for me, it's like it's very annoying. It's like you come back and you realize, interesting. 10 minutes ago or 10 days ago, I was okay. I was
yeah.
okay being here.
I was
But
laughing.
now, yeah, but now I'm not. So then it's realizing, well, okay, what is the reason that's making me feel this? What is the difference? And it's not about removing these feelings, because we never will. We'll always have the darker energy, but it's about working and ascending to a point where we're sitting above it, and we could kind of just observe it and transmute it and use it to our potential, right? So it's knowing that for me, when it happens, it's like, man, like when I'm really feeling it, I'm like, okay, this too is the divine, first of all. This is the divine working through me. This is showing me where I need more light. What is this fear that I have? What is this belief that I have that isn't real? This is giving me more opportunity and trust
Mm,
in the universe, an opportunity to trust, right? Sometimes I like to separate my ego and say, okay, Jesse, I get why you would be scared here. I get why you would be hurt here. Look at your life, bro. But to the real me, to the soul, the infinite intelligence being inside me, the God source energy, this is nothing but an opportunity to just trust in that more. And
Yeah.
then all at the same time knowing that, hey, after this darkness, that's when it gets good. It gets good. And if you could hang in, if you could hang in with the dark times, then you're changing the game a bit because it's not this even playing field. And that's what happens on the ascension path because the extremes get less extreme. When you're down here, my first dark night of soul was the contrast was I am God in pure love and light to I am underground, naked, and 6 years old. Yeah. And we go up and it's ascension spiral. So as you go up, the extremes become less and you're able to start to transmute this darkness. So it's not wishing we weren't here, although those thoughts come to mind. It's understanding you chose to be here and then remembering the good times. And when I have my moments of pure light and when I've seen heaven on earth, I fucking have seen it. I'm telling you, I've seen it. And in those moments, I say, it's so funny. I go, I'll fucking come back to Earth with this. Like I'll come back because I was told in a reading that like
Don't
this
tempt
is
me.
this is this is my last rodeo here if I want it to be. But I'm like, I'll come back. This is amazing. So then I go, okay, let's store a little of this light for when you get really
Hmm.
into some fear and some stuff, man. And like, just this too, man, like this too. And all these things combined with your consciousness, bringing it all to the light of, there's a time to learn more about yourself and there's a time just to love yourself. There's a time to be like, I want to leave this earth. There's a time to be like, I chose to come here. This is the paradox and the balance that we all signed up for.
Yeah, that was really validating. Thank you.
You're
Before
welcome.
we wrap up, I would love to know in your world, well, two things. One quick thing is as you grow your audience, I have the hallucination that the trolls don't go away, that the negative comments, the people who don't get it, they don't go away, even though now it's not 183, it's 50,000, you know? How do you manage that and how do you filter it?
Mm. You're asking some good questions because a lot of this has been in my space lately.
Mm,
I'm seeing for the first time, like, because I've gotten so much love, man. So much love
totally.
has came my way. It's so unbelievable. And everything I've given has been reciprocated. And it's like, it just, it's like when something just makes sense and I am so grateful for it and then starts to slowly see some like haters coming on and like
Mhm.
just mean things being sent and I made a decision early on that I will not address anything that I don't feel in vibration match with. I won't
Mm.
like the comment, I won't comment back, I won't give it any power. And there was a couple times I felt tempted to leave some witty stupid thing and I was like, that's not me anymore.
Mhm.
That's not I'm here to love and be loved, and that's not going to bring that for me.
Yeah.
So we get to a point
WWJD.
where we get to, yeah, we get to
What
a
would
point to
Jesse do?
decide, oh, what would Jesse do? Someone, they used to say that.
I know. What would
So
Jesus do?
funny.
I know.
Oh, what would Jesse, geez, what would Jesse do? Some
That's
just
the
brought
new
up a memory.
WWJD.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of friends when I was really young joked about that. A couple of female friends would
Really?
say that to me. Yeah, I just remembered it when you said that. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, I don't entertain it and it's part of the game and part of the process and all of it is
Yeah.
just an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself.
Both.
Yeah? It's never the message. I'm sorry, it's never the messenger, it's always the message. So if it triggers you, good, learn.
And also, it doesn't matter what the thing is that you pursue, there's always going to be a downside to every upside. So whether it's becoming more visible and having a bigger reach and inadvertently getting some haters, or it's diving deep into, becoming an Olympic athlete and feeling like you are devoting your life to this, you have less time with your family and friends. Like there's always going to be sacrifices, and you get to decide how you react or respond.
Yes, there will be. And I never really jived with this like even when I started learning about these laws of the universe and how like the pendulum's always going to swing. I'm like, what's the point then, bro? Like we're just going to continue. Like I want to be in light all the time, man,
Sorry,
and
Jesse.
like, yeah, like, hey, listen, I still have dreams, man. Like, I believe I believe the game could be changed. I don't know. Universe
Mm.
don't humble me now, but like I'm just saying, like we are what we believe, and we our experience outwardly is how we feel inwardly. And I know that I know I joke around half wittingly, but like deep in my essence, I must have came from a planet that is just from purest light and love with
Pleiades.
nothing else. Wait, is that what it is? I don't really know where I'm from. I feel like Orion. I don't know, but
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe
Orion?
yeah, maybe one day I'll know. Orion, yeah. I can't even
Yeah.
say my own home field. Um, but yeah, I've had this feeling of like, I don't know. I know I'm gonna be enlightened in this lifetime. Like
Heck
I do.
yeah.
I know yeah, I've been told that. Like I felt that in my body. And so like
Hmm.
I know that that's where I'm going. I have my dreams to like to live every moment. It doesn't mean every moment's going to be like this pure blissful state, but like to be in control of the way that I feel and to be really content in each moment. I have that's my dream, and
Mm.
I'm not going to put that away for anybody because I think when you start accepting so much that we need to heal, then all of a sudden you're walking around like you're sick,
Mm.
But the truth is the healing is an absolute illusion. So once
Mm.
again, we're in this paradox.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I think about that all the time in terms of partnership. People are like, oh, marriage is hard, relationships are hard. I mean, if you believe that 100%, I also know people who have really like easy, blissful, openly communicative, playful, passionate partnerships. And it's not to say they haven't been through things, but the story isn't that the relationship is hard. It's just not their story. And so it's not their reality.
Exactly. It's the story. We are literally living out the story we tell ourselves.
Hmm.
Our truth, and this was a download that I got that what was proven to me that our entire reality is based off our truth. So like your truth and your reality is different than mine. You have your truth and your truth is true. There's many
Hmm.
truths. So it's like
Hmm.
your story about relationships will be true. Mine will
Hmm.
be true. And it's up to us to understand where our stories generated from childhood trauma and then reprogram so that we can be the creator of our experience,
Okay,
and
speak to that.
to
Speak to the reprogramming, because this is the part that I've been um what's the word? I don't want to say struggling with. Working with, growing with over the past 8 years of my journey is okay, I'm aware of the stories that aren't serving me. I'm literally seeing the patterns play out. I'm doing the things, quote unquote, to rewire them, reprogram them, and yet it's still there. And so could it be stored even deeper in the body? And if so, what do you
yeah,
do?
it could be. And here's the thing, you know, I was talking about this the other day with some people. We feel and we have this idea that like the second we locate our trauma or we locate the story or we locate the programming and we're like, okay, I found it. Here's why. I brought it to the light because bringing it to the light will do most of it. Like when you bring it out of the shadow and you're just like, this is part of me. This is why I'm bringing it here. Like now it's not hiding. Okay. It's
Mhm.
still there though. But we believe we have this feeling that since we've done this, that it should be gone. This shit takes time.
Yeah.
This shit takes time. That's why time exists. Because in the other dimensions, time doesn't exist because we're whole. So time only exists in order for us to heal. What do you think
Mm.
the past and the future are?
Mm.
Opportunities for us to look back on our experiences and learn from them, which is what healing is. So, like, it's about understanding where it came from, bringing it to the light, and then working through it. I like to do meditations, and this is where it all started for me in the quantum field, where I'm literally changing the actual history of my life,
Mm.
and then I'll feel some stuff removed, but damn, that story's still there. I'm still being worked by it. It still has me. There isn't like this secret, I haven't found it yet at least. This secret thing where like, oh, I found the program now, reprogram. Like, yes, the subconscious and like there's tons of stuff like this where, affirmations, people hate on affirmations. Affirmations were a huge part of the beginning of my awakening,
Me too.
of reprogramming, huge part. I listen to stuff while I'm sleeping every single night. This is huge,
Mm.
huge. When you're waking up, when you first wake up, your conscious is not fully conscious. So your subconscious is still very fertile. So what you plant in there is so important. Most people get up and they stress and they worry and they right and they get into that and that's what keeps repeating.
Mm,
So like if you have a story that you don't like about yourself or that doesn't serve you, right? Old programming, you can literally the second you wake up, get into a meditative state. And what I do to heal my child wounds and past trauma is I literally go back in that experience. The deeper the meditation, the better. I go back into that experience and I'm watching it now and I place myself there, this version or even my higher self, right? If I feel like this version doesn't like, I'm feeling not so great about myself, I'll go call on someone from the future to go there.
mm,
And I'm literally there. So I see little Jesse, he's over there. And I'm like, this story. And I'm like, yo, come here. I got to tell you something. And I literally have this conversation with myself. And I tell myself, my younger self, what he needed to hear,
mhm,
what he needed to hear in that moment. And it'll come to you what you need to say. And you can do this right when you wake up. Right when you wake up, you could go there and you can do that and over again. And everything's happening at once, right? Every moment is happening at once. So when you heal the past in real time, you're healing. And then you're conscious enough to say, okay, wow, you're going about your life. You feel this old story popping up. You say, interesting. This is what I say about everything now. Interesting. Oh,
interesting.
fear? Cool. Interesting. What the? Okay. Gotcha. All right, fine. I get it. I get it. Right. And then you're aware of it and you're bringing more light. You're bringing more light. And
Mhm,
eventually, your consciousness will upgrade.
mm,
Your consciousness will upgrade. So when we talk about stories and programming and your consciousness upgrades, we talked about this in the beginning for a moment. You're increasing your awareness. So you're literally just giving yourself a wider perspective of that story, which is a new story. This is how the whole thing works. So now it won't be so devastating because you're just this elevated being now looking at it. Like I have old trauma now that when I was in my darkness and it comes back, right? I'm 8 months on this thing. My path started in April last year, but it's been
wow.
expedited as you can see. But yeah.
You
But
don't say.
like yeah, like, but when you bring this stuff up, I forgot. I lost my train of thought.
That's
What was I
okay. There have
saying?
been some gems.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Well, for the sake of time, I do want to let people know where can they go follow you? Where can they continue to follow along on your spiritual journey?
Okay, hold on. I have to finish because now I remember what I was
You
saying.
got it. It came
Okay,
back.
yeah, it came back. It always comes back. It
Yeah.
always comes back. You just have to stop resisting it. But when when your consciousness upgrades, when you have more awareness, your perspective changes on that story, right? So you're looking at it differently. So I'll have times where like my story that really held me down in the past, this idea of who I am now comes up and I'm just like, I can't believe I was so shook by that,
Mm,
right? Like I can't, it's just like I'm like just a bigger person and it doesn't faze me as much. And that gives me the wisdom and the strength to move on to the next moment. And
mm,
then if it comes back up, I remember, okay, it's okay. Like it's okay. And last thing I'll say about stories and old programming, they're not true. Okay. And one thing that's really helped me when I have these things come up, and there's stories about who we are and our place in the world and why we should feel a certain way and like why things are the certain way. And you don't even really need to believe that it's not true. But if you just latch onto the idea and you have faith that there's a deeper truth to all things and that truth will always win, truth doesn't need a defense. So you don't need to defend truth. So when these things
mm,
come up, I go, okay, cool. That's a nice try, but truth's going to win here.
mm.
Truth's going to win. Let truth win. Let truth
I
win.
love that.
Let truth win. And I sit with it. So that's a little bit more where you can find me. I'm on Instagram at jgiddy32. And I also started YouTube, jgiddy32, Jesse Gittler. Yeah, follow me, subscribe, send me a DM, all the things.
Yeah. And we'll be sure to have all of that linked up in the show notes as well. Jesse, before we
Cool.
go, I do want to acknowledge you for being authentic, for listening to the call, heeding the call, for following that little voice, even when everyone else who may have been bigger and louder and greater in numbers had a different voice that they were trying to get you to listen to. And for just being in the space with me and being willing to dance, I feel like I'm talking to a soul brother. It's so nourishing and validating for me on so many levels. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Truly. Thank you.
Mm, appreciate you.